Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to Rock Gamer. And it's time to do a DLC review for this week's Valentine's Day songs. And the first song we're going to talk about is Love Stinks by Geils Band. And the guitar is honestly one of the worst guitar songs of the week. It's honestly so boring, it's really easy, and it's probably good if you're a newbie to expert. Other than that, it's really not worth any of your time. I'd totally say it's skippable. It's a pretty easy song on drums. It's got a couple fun fills in there, but it's definitely on the easier side. If you're new to expert, it's maybe a good place to start, but overall I would say the drums are mediocre. And the bass is just horrible. It is so slow and boring, and there's so many sustains on it. This is definitely not a great week for basses. I would say skip the bass. Our next song is Dancing With Myself, and this one from Generation X, the guitar kind of felt unbalanced to me. Like, the main riff is pretty mediocre, it's kind of repetitive, and then there's some chords that go on for way too long, and then you have this really crazy second solo in the song, which is so much fun but super hard, and then you've got these crazy sustain bars thrown in as well, and it's kind of inconsistent. Like, half of it's fun, the other half's not so much. I would say the guitar is mediocre. The drums are not that great. It's got a pretty fast hi-hat beat with the snare. There are a couple fills thrown in that kind of vary the beat, but it just overall, it's pretty repetitive and it's very forgettable. I would say the drums are total skip. I would say the bass is a mixed bag. The first half of the bass is really boring. It's a lot of playing the same notes on the same color fret and then switching to another fret, playing a bunch of notes, and repeat. And then you get to about the second guitar solo and things kind of change up. There's like a couple of fun hammer-on sections thrown in. There's a little bit of variety thrown in there, and the second half is much more enjoyable. I would say the bass is mediocre. Song is Treasure by Bruno Mars, and this song is really repetitive on guitar. It's got a very easy and repetitive guitar riff that's easily forgettable and really not worth your time. I would say it's worth skipping the guitar. The drums are fairly boring. This is definitely the worst of the two Bruno Mars songs we got this week on drums. It's got a really boring drum part during the chorus, and then it's got this weird beat where you're playing with the hi-hat, and then you're going to think you're going to play hi-hat and snare, but then you just play a flam in the middle. And it's kind of weird, and that kind of repeats itself throughout for most of the song. I'd say the drums are worth skipping. The bass is pretty much the same. It's boring, it's really easy, it's not challenging at all, and there's just really not a ton of variety. I'd say Treasure, pretty much with the exception of vocals, you can pretty much pan that song. Next song, Locked Out of Heaven, is one of my most requested Rock Band 4 DLC songs. I'm pretty sure I requested this song from Harmonix, and I'm glad to see it in here. And on guitar, it is better than Treasure. I found that there's a little bit more variety. The chords are more fun to play. I would say that the guitar is average. Turning now to the drums are definitely better than Treasure. The main beat is pretty standard, during the first half of the song, but the chorus is really where things ramp up in this song. You play a really fun beat on the snare on the toms. That's probably one of the most fun parts of the song. I'd say that alone, along with the ending of the song, adding some spice to it, also makes this song worth checking out on drums. I would say the drums are a buy. The bass is really uneven. The first half is really decent. It's fairly easy and varied, but the chorus is just terrible on bass. It's just not fun, and the ending is the same way too. It's just a lot of unnecessary strumming, it feels like, and it just didn't captivate me, and I would say the bass is worth skipping. Next song is probably one of the bigger surprises of the week, is still the one by Orleans. This is by far one of the best guitar songs of the week. It's just got some really fun riffs. Your fingers are going to get a big workout on this song for sure. They do have like kind of the same riff that's kind of repeated, but it's varied enough that you're not playing the same riff on the same buttons. They kind of like use the riff and put the riff on different buttons because they have little slight variations on it. It's got a really fun guitar solo, and the ending has some really fast but manageable hammer-ons and pull-offs. Definitely recommend you guys buy this song on guitar. The drums are pretty easy with pretty simple rock beat, but it's got a fun bass pattern to it, and it's got some fun fills as well. I would say it's mediocre on drums. This is definitely one of the best bass songs of the week. I recommend you guys check out the bass. It's very well varied on bass. There's some really fun little hammer-ons and pull-offs in here, and it wasn't too difficult, but I still had a lot of fun with this song on bass. I would say this is definitely a really solid full band song if you guys want to pick it up. Let's go into our next song of the week. Next song is I Hate Myself for Loving You by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and this one I was kind of torn on guitar. Like, on one hand, the first part of the song is like a lot of stopping and starting. Like, you'll play a couple notes, stop, play a couple notes, stop again. It's kind of repeated for a little bit, Then the song gets a little more interesting. You play some easy chords, but then you've got some really fun hammer-ons and pull-offs. You've got two really fun guitar solos, the second of which is probably the hardest. And that's kind of where it's like a mixed bag. Like the first half of the song is not that great, but then the second half really takes over and it leaves you, wanting to play more. I would say that this song is worth getting if you don't mind the stopping and starting at the beginning and maybe some of the easier chords that are thrown in. The drums, this is one of my favorite drum songs of the week. It's got so much great variety. It's got so many fun little fills. It's not the hardest song, but it's not the easiest song either. Like the difficulty's right in the center there. I'd say you should definitely pick the song up on drums. The bass I found was just too boring. It was way too much strumming on the green, blue, and orange notes, and it just kind of repeated in the loop. You just keep playing those notes over and over again, and then the bass part's done. So I'd say the bass is worth skipping. Let's go to our final song of the week. Our last song is called Speed Fighter, and this one's an interesting song because there's no vocals. This is purely an instrumental track. We've had a couple of instrumental tracks released as DLC, and this song on guitar is pretty decent. It's got a lot of single notes. It's got two guitar solos that are definitely the best part of the song, and it's got some quick sustain bars as well. If you want a song to jam to, this is definitely a good example of a song. The song on drums are quite difficult. This is probably the hardest song of the week. It's got a lot of disco beats to it, and then they throw in some like open hi-hat notes, which definitely throw a little twist into playing the drums. I'd say the drums are worth getting if you're looking for a challenge. The bass, this is the bass song you've been waiting for, bassist. If you want a challenging song, this is by far one of the hardest bass songs I've had to play. This is actually a devil tier on bass. It's ranked harder than the guitar, and there's a good reason why. Lots of hammer-ons and pull-offs, lots of single notes. If you're looking for a challenge, this is definitely the bass song to get for you. That does it for this week's DLC review, guys. Thanks for watching. And as always, guys, I want to hear from you. What are your favorite songs of the week? And let me know, guys, what do you agree with and what do you disagree with what I have to say on this week's review. And make sure you subscribe to my channel for the latest happenings in the world of rhythm gaming. Take care.